Mr. Speaker, Monsieur le Président, for the next few minutes, the House will be focusing some attention on the honourable member for Toronto Centre. Il n'est certainement pas besoin de notre aide pour attirer l'attention, mais aujourd'hui, cette dernière journée en Chambre, en tant que chef du Parti libéral, et il mérite un hommage. Amid all the eulogistical things that are likely to be said today, I would remind members at the outset that the MP for Toronto Centre is not dead. Neither will he be retiring anytime soon. He is just changing roles. We're going to pay a tribute to him because his leadership, and Mr. Speaker, I hate that word interim, because his leadership over the past 22 months has been anything but interim. It has been robust and unstinting, skillful and substantive, as readily applauded by the media, the public, our caucus, the party, and indeed by his opponents in this House. In the middle of his job as leader, we named him Canada's Parliamentarian of the Year. And when I say we, I mean all of us in this House together. His peers in all parties voted him #1. And, Mr. Speaker, God knows the Liberal Party couldn't have stacked that vote. We weren't that organized even when we were in government. That Parliamentarian of the Year award, amidst all our travails as the so-called third party, is a large and unique signal of the respect the member for Toronto Centre has earned across the partisan divide. As you can imagine, our National Liberal Caucus meeting this morning was filled with many emotions as we thanked our leader for the work that he has done over the past 2 years or so, years that were both difficult and crucial, but not without a bit of humour. Like Bette Midler, the MP for Toronto St. Paul's over there, gushed this morning that the leader has been the wind beneath her wings. But the member for Cape Breton-Canso said, well, maybe someone just passed a bit of gas. The leader himself addressed the caucus with some poetry. You, the unwilling, he said to the caucus, led by the all-knowing, are doing the impossible for the ungrateful. We have done so much for so long with so little, we now feel qualified to do anything with nothing. And he went on to say, I know I have not answered all of your questions. The answers I have given only serve to raise big new problems. In some ways, I feel just as confused as ever, but I believe I'm now confused on a higher plane and about more important things. It was indeed quite a caucus meeting. As other parties in this House like to remind us, the Liberal Party has endured some difficult times since the election of May 2011. Perilous times because survival was not guaranteed. More than anyone else, the member for Toronto Centre has given the Liberal Party the opportunity to have a future. Plus que quiconque, le député du Toronto Centre a donné l'opportunité au Parti libéral de regarder vers l'avenir. He was the right person in the right place at a critical time. With his deep well of experience, his storehouse of knowledge, his understanding of judgment, the vast array of Canadians and international personalities whom he knows and who know him and whose respect he has earned, his oratorical skills in both official languages, his spontaneity and question period, his easy interaction with the media, the deep respect he shows for Parliament and the institutions of our democracy, the consistent principles that guide his conduct when the cameras are rolling and equally when they are not. His kindness and decency, these are characteristics that have shaped his leadership. And far beyond this House, people struggling with issues like mental illness, for example, people who have been marginalized by life circumstances, Aboriginal people searching for new hope and respect, and many others, have seen in this Liberal leader a reason to believe in the potential and compassion that Canada can offer. Perhaps more than any others, the member for Toronto Centre lives by what Laurier would describe as sunny ways, that positive instinct to see the glass always half full, not half empty. Yes, tough times come along in politics. One reaction is to get angry, to grow bitter. And if you do that, you will diminish and fade. The best lesson from the member for Toronto Centre is to always rise above the petty, look for the best in people, even your opponents, be fair, and always try to build a more inclusive society and a better country. C'est dans cet état d'esprit qu'il a
It is in
motivé
this
nos
spirit
caucus
that he
et
has
nos
motivated
partis,
our caucus and our
qu'il nous
party,
a gardés
and
unis
that he has kept us
et nous a
united
aidés à grandir,
and helped us to
tout en
grow
conservant notre visibilité
while
et notre
increasing our
pertinence.
visibility and our
Perhaps
relevance.
his greatest ally in all this work is his spouse and partner, Arlene. A soulmate, helper, advisor, comforter, confidant, and pillar of strength, she and their daughters Lisa, Judith, and Eleanor have been absolutely indispensable to what has been achieved. So today we say thank you to all of them. We have a future to fight for and hope for another day because of you, sir, and we are grateful.
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm very pleased to offer remarks on behalf of the Prime Minister and my colleagues in the Government Caucus to pay tribute to the member for Toronto Centre as he steps down as leader of the Liberal Party. The member for Toronto Centre will not know this, but about 20 years ago, I was thinking about running for the Ontario Legislature, and there were two people which especially motivated me. One was Mike Harris, and the other was the member opposite.
That's true.
Not
necessarily in that order.
Now I affectionately refer to him as my former premier. And I can also say certainly one of the more fiscally responsible premiers in my lifetime in my province. His obvious intellect, capacity to think on his feet and speak extemporaneously raised the level of debate in this place. The central role he has played in debate each and every day in this place will be greatly missed. While I often don't agree with the member opposite, we call those days weekdays, I have come to respect him, to seek his counsel, and to learn from his perspective. And also, in his honour, to join in paying tribute to the member centre. So it's a real honour for me to join in paying tribute to the member for Toronto Centre. A fierce partisan, a skilled debater, he is one of those rare members of this House who not only commands the respect of both colleagues and opponents, but who also past generations of parliamentarians, as well as those now sitting. For a long political career, dating back to 1978, the honourable member has served with such elder statesmen as John Diefenbaker, Alan J. McEachern, and Stanley Knowles. He served with them and no doubt sparred with them. For as a parliamentarian, he was an ever-armed opponent. And I must say that, in part, I blame that old lion of the prairies, the Right Honourable John George Diefenbaker. The member for Toronto Centre served with Diefenbaker, and he will no doubt recall this conversation. Shortly after his first election to this House, Mr. Diefenbaker, already impressed, asked to see him. "You're making quite a name for himself," he said. "Let me give you some advice." Honourable members, if you can believe this, 35 years later, the member then, as he was known as the member for Broadview, replied, "I need all the help I can get, sir." So Deef gave him some advice. "Some people," he said, "will tell you to take your time, to sit back and wait your turn. My advice is, don't take any nonsense from nobody." Unfortunately, he followed Deef's advice, and it was the old Progressive Conservative Party and the other parties that faced the music. But provincial politics called. These were the days of hard campaigning. From October 1978 to November 1982, the honourable member fought 4 elections. In the course of his long career, he would fight 7 more. But in Ontario, he took a party with a deeply ingrained opposition mentality and brought it to power. Many people were surprised at his evolution from protest to power, and by his own account, not the least, the member opposite. When his party was unable to grasp the difference between protest and power, he wisely shifted to the right. Not far enough, mind you, but he did shift to the right. And there's at least 2 members, or 3 members opposite that I wish he'd brought to the right with him. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, there are not many politicians who could start a speech like he did one night last fall. He started out the speech, "My fellow Red Tories, my fellow New Democrats, my fellow Liberals." In a more serious vein, today allows us the opportunity to pay tribute to the honourable member's entire family. As he has often joked, he was born in a log embassy. But that was no joke in the service to Canada performed by the honourable member's late and distinguished father, Saul. Saul Rae was part of Canada's delegation to the Quebec Conference back in 1943. In the pictures of Mackenzie King, Sir Winston Churchill, and Franklin Roosevelt taken at Quebec, you can see him there. And the Times have shown that the same spirit of public service that made Saul Rae a valuable confidant of great men has passed in abundance to his children. It is a spirit that we all may celebrate today, regardless of party or faction. In paying tribute to the member opposite, I would be remiss if I didn't single out someone who deserves at least as much credit, if not more credit, than he does. And I'm, of course, referring to his wife, Arlene. You can see he's always in a better mood when she's around, and that's why we see her in the halls of this place so often. The member opposite is truly blessed to have someone who has been so supportive of all of his time in public service. It is fitting to recognize that the burden of public service is not borne only by those who hold office, so we pay tribute to his wife and his 3 daughters, Judith, Lisa, and Eleanor. In conclusion, I've been privileged in my dealings with the member for Toronto Centre. While the honourable member and I have had our differences of opinion here in this House, as one would expect, I found him at the same time to be forthright and insightful on these occasions where I have sought his private views. And upon this last matter, I am utterly convinced. One could argue with the honourable member for Toronto Centre, one could disagree with him, but one could, however, never question his love for Canada, for it is deep, profound, and true. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Skeena-Bulkley Valley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I first would like to echo the comments from my colleagues, both the Minister for Foreign Affairs and the member from Wascana. They were eloquent and caring in their tribute to my friend from Toronto Centre. I will quite intentionally keep my comments quite short for 2 very important reasons. On behalf of the official opposition, I heard instructions earlier when we were preparing this tribute today that about 2 minutes was going to be the general approach of each of the speakers, and I suppose my friend from Toronto has inspired us all to say more by his demonstration of his own exercise of question period today, but I will try to restrict myself. For the second important reason is that I know the Liberal caucus this evening has a dinner planned, and if we extend too far in our comments today, it will cut into that dinner, and there's a rumor about the place that the member from Beauséjour is actually paying for the dinner, and I know my friend from Toronto will want to take every opportunity and every minute he can of that unique and unusual generosity from the member from Beauséjour. Il ne prend pas sa retraite aujourd'hui seulement sa démission comme chef du Parti libéral. Je vais garder mes petits souvenirs pour un autre jour. Sa véritable retraite, j'espère que ça serait très bon dans la future. I think it is fitting to talk about the member's ability to be both sharp and pointed in his attacks and criticisms of the government of the day, as he is open and gracious in his own self-deprecation and self-awareness. And I'm recalling a debate he and I had the pleasure to share in at the National Arts Centre not too long ago, where he commented to the very large and gracious and happy crowd that he always wanted to be the leader of the Liberal Party in the worst way. And he finally had that opportunity. He was able to show his grace and determination in sometimes difficult circumstances, using his ability and his obvious skills as an orator and a parliamentarian in the true sense of the word. It's of a personal nature that I would like to send my appreciations to him through you, Speaker, for his consistent and determined effort to raise the plight of missing and murdered Aboriginal women. I know this is an issue and a cause that affects all Canadians. As someone who comes from the northern parts of this country, to hear a member from the urban capital of Canada talk about it with such passion and such grace has been important and moving for me. To Arlene and to the family, there have been sacrifices made on your behalf as well over these past number of months. You get a little bit more of him back. I'm sure that's a great and celebratory thing. It's not often noted enough, Mr. Speaker, in this place, that we are often here only by the strength and efforts of our families and our friends that make us available to live the life of public service. And to Arlene, I want to say thank you very much for what you have offered. We too have differed in time to time on various issues, and I won't say and highlight any of those, only to say that we have shared a common cause and a common purpose in our respect for this place, in our further commitment to this country, and our love of its people. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable député de Baird-Richelieu-Nicolet Bécancourt.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr.
J'ai le
Speaker.
plaisir de me joindre à mes confrères
I'm
pour
pleased
rendre hommage
to rise
au
today
chef du Parti
to
libéral
pay
qui
tribute
quitte
to the
ses
leader of
fonctions.
the Liberal Party who is
S'il y a
leaving
une grande
his
qualité qui
position.
prime chez
If
le député
there
de
is a quality
Toronto
that
Centre,
distinguishes the member
c'est bien
for
sa grande
Toronto Centre,
éloquence.
it's his great
Pas
eloquence.
assez grande encore pour convertir un
Still not
souverainiste comme
enough
moi
to
en un
convert me from a
fédéraliste comme lui.
sovereigntist to a federalist like him, however.
Et derrière ce parfait
But
gentleman
behind
en
the perfect
chambre
gentleman in the
se
House
cache un orateur
is a
redoutable,
formidable speaker
doté d'un très grand sens de l'humour.
with a great sense
La
of humor.
maîtrise de ses dossiers et sa capacité d'en
His
discourir
mastery of the
font de lui
files and his
un
ability to speak
adversaire
to them
redoutable.
make him a formidable
Un
foe.
grand respect pour le
With his great
parlementarisme
respect
britannique
for our
et pour
British
ses
parliamentary
opposants politiques,
tradition
il a
and for his
toujours
political
su rester
opponents,
digne et
he has
apprécié de
always
tous.
remained dignified and
Mettant ses
appreciated
intérêts
by all.
personnels de côté
Setting aside
pour
his
bien
personal
servir ceux de
interests
son
to
parti,
serve those of his
il a
party,
su relever les nombreux
he
défis
has risen to the
liés à un
numerous
poste de
challenges
chef intérimaire.
linked to the position of
Celui qu'on
interim leader.
surnommait la force
He's the one they
tranquille
called
de son parti,
the quiet
a su
strength
maintenir
behind
la
the
barque à
party.
flot
He
et
kept the
garder
boat
ses
afloat
troupes unies
and kept his troops
pendant cette longue
united
transition.
during the long transition.
Il a su faire face quotidiennement
He has
également aux médias.
Dealt with the
Et comme
media
vous
on
le
a
savez
daily
tous,
basis,
là-dedans,
and as you
le
know,
député de Toronto
the member
Centre
for
est
Toronto
comme un
Centre
poisson dans l'eau
is like a
dans
fish
ce
in
domaine.
water in that environment.
Lorsque nous serons de retour en chambre
When we
après le
return
relâche
to
de
the
Pâques,
House following
il
the
cédera
Easter
sa
break,
place à un nouveau chef.
he will step aside
Le
and
moment
welcome
est
a new
donc bien
leader.
choisi aujourd'hui
So this is a
pour
good time
souligner son travail
today to
exceptionnel
underscore the exceptional
à
work
effectuer en cette chambre
that the
et
member
pour
for
souhaiter le voir
Toronto Centre
poursuivre
has
son
done in
bon
this House,
travail
and
auprès
to
de
wish
ses
him all the
commettants et
best to
commettants.
continuing his good work
Bravo,
on behalf
Bob.
of his
Merci
constituents.
pour votre grand apport
Bravo, Bob,
quotidien
and
à
thanks
notre
for the great
démocratie.
contribution you've
Et
made
merci à sa
to our
famille
democracy.
de l'avoir
And thank you
accompagné
to
et
his family
soutenu
for having
tout au long de sa
supported him
carrière.
throughout his career.
The honourable member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. C'est un grand
Thank you,
honneur
Mr.
pour
Speaker.
moi
It's a
aussi
great
de joindre
honor
tous
for
mes
me
collègues
to
pour
join
rendre hommage
my other
à
colleagues
mon
to pay
collègue et
tribute
mon ami
to
Bob
my
Rae.
colleague and friend
For me,
Bob
it's an
Rae.
extraordinary experience to serve as a member of Parliament in the same House with, pardonnez-moi, les membres de Toronto Centre. And it's a great honor for me to be able to serve in the House with the member for Toronto Centre in his time as, and I will say, leader of the Liberal Party. I think the only thing that distinguishes his term from that of others is that he escaped attack ads. When I took my seat here, I can tell you, no, I'm wrong on that. All right, I retract that from my presentation. When I took my seat here, Mr. Speaker, in June of 2011, and as I stood here, very happy to find seat 309, You know, with only 308 members in the House, seat 309 has its special characteristics, and I knew that it had been recently vacated by my friend from Sackville, Eastern Shore. But my friend from Toronto Centre turned around and looked at me and said, "See that seat? Where you are now? That's where I started in 1978, 33 years ago." And he gave me great advice. He said, "You play your cards right, and 33 years from now, you can be where I am today." And I have to say, you know, I pictured myself at 90 as the leader of the third party, but never mind. I know that our friend from Toronto Centre has changed parties over the years, and I once had great hopes that he would become a Green. At the point that he was arrested for blockading the logging roads in Temagami, I thought, there stands a Green. And then he had him go and blow it today with that whole Keystone XL joint sales job. But the point is, no matter where we disagree, as other members around this House have said, you can disagree without being disagreeable, and it's simply not possible to end this tribute without saying to Arlene Pearlie Ray, whom I love like a sister, and to the member for Toronto Centre, whom I love like something else, but I do love him, as I do many people in this House. His role, his contribution to Canada cannot be overstated. It can only be underestimated. And we all pay tribute to a great Canadian today.
The honourable member for Toronto Centre.
Prime Minister, you want to say something?
Oh, sorry.
I'm not at a loss for words, but I do want to thank members, and I won't take long. I was very, very happy to hear the comments by my colleagues. My first reaction was, what took them all so long? But my second reaction was to express thanks that can't be expressed by my wife and family for the very kind things that you've had to say about them. I can't readily find the words to express the extent to which this life of politics that I've led for many, many years has only been possible because of the love and support and the partnership that Arlene and I have had. And to have had it added by three wonderful children, my mother, who's I know watching on television, my sister and brother, has been very special and meaningful to me. And it's not always possible to find the words to express a thanks and a gratitude for that love and that affection and that support. I was also very pleased that my daughters were able to be here to hear some of the things that were said, because I don't think they realize what a great guy I really am.
It's clear now, though.
It's clear now, and I appreciate that. I think they all know that now.
You get a transcript.
Transcript's going to be put in gold. Je veux remercier tous les députés qui ont parlé.
I want to thank all members
Si je
who
peux dire
spoke.
directement au député
If I can say
chef
directly
du Bloc québécois
to the leader of the Bloc
qui vient de
Québécois,
parler, j'apprécie
who just
beaucoup ses
spoke.
paroles parce qu'il faut comprendre que
I
on
listened very
n'est pas
carefully.
d'accord sur la question primordiale
We don't
de
agree
l'existence du pays, de l'existence du
with
Canada.
the basic
Mais j'ai
issue
toujours
regarding
essayé,
Canada, but
dans ma vie
I've
politique,
always
de
tried
montrer
in my political
qu'en
life
dépit de nos
to
différences
show that
d'opinion,
despite our differences of
et
opinions
en dépit de nos profondes
and
différences de
despite our
philosophie de temps en
profound
temps,
differences in philosophy at times,
il faut respecter les uns les autres.
we must
Il faut trouver
be
le moyen
respectful. We must
de
respect
montrer
each other,
une certaine dignité envers nous, même si on n'est pas d'accord,
show
même si
dignity,
on ne partage pas le même
even if
point
we
de vue.
don't share the same views.
I do want to say to members that I have from time to time offended people. And when you say as many things as I do, some of them are going to seem to be inappropriate and sometimes even hurtful. And for that, I apologize and express, perhaps on this occasion, once again, the fact that we do not always reach the heights that we like to ascribe to ourselves. I want to thank the Prime Minister for his words in question period today, which I appreciated. I want to thank the Minister for his very kind words, and knowing something of his own political past in Ontario, I know how difficult this transition to being a generous, kind, and thoughtful person.
He's not there yet.
Well, he's getting there. He's getting there, and I know how difficult it's been for him. And all I can say is we're all on this side. We're all rooting for him as he this change. To my colleague in the New Democratic Party, I fully understand that for many New Democrats, my even being here is something of a difficulty for them. It's sort of like living next door to your first husband for your whole life. But
what an awful problem.
I appreciate very much the thoughts that were expressed by my colleague from Skeena, and again the ability to say kind things that I hope some of them are true, but I really do appreciate what's been said. Finally, even to my seatmate, and I think all of us will understand that one develops a very special relationship with the people who are here. To all of my colleagues, I want to express my deep thanks, but especially I want to express my thanks to the member from Wascana. We have been together in difficult battles. He's been my deputy leader, and if you can imagine how challenging that can be sometimes in terms of the stuff that we have to try to do, I really do appreciate the kind, thoughtful way in which he has helped me to lead and helped me to provide a sense of direction for our party and our caucus. And I'm very, very appreciative of his words today, and I'm very appreciative of his friendship and of his colleagueship. As has been said, I feel a little bit like Tom Sawyer, who, as we all will recall, had an opportunity to attend his own funeral, and in so doing was astonished at the things that were being said about him and at the emotions that were being shown. I just say to all those who feel like they've gone through some kind of deathbed conversion and saying such things about me, I simply want to say to them, I'm not dead yet. I'm still around. I'm going to be here on April the 15th. I'm going to be back sitting somewhere in this place. I'm not quite sure where. And I will be there to continue my work as a member of Parliament. It continues to be, Mr. Speaker, a great honour to serve the people of Toronto Centre, and it continues to be a great honour to serve in this Parliament. It's true. I have been a rising star now in 5 separate decades. And
like a lady.
And the star is still rising, Mr. Speaker. I can feel it. And I want to express my deep thanks to the members of the House for taking such valuable time out of the Conservative Party's political agenda to express their thanks to me and to the work that I do. Thank you very much.